Hey everybody, Nick Espinoza, your chief security fanatic here, and today we are talking about satire because satire combined with confirmation bias is a rather dangerous precedent for society. Fortunately, Facebook is here to help us, although I will get to that. Now, before I dive into today's reporting, I think we need to address both satire and confirmation bias. We see this problem across both sides of the political spectrum all over the globe. Basically, a person scans a headline, it aligns with their belief system, and they share it out, where it's then picked up by like-minded friends, and then they share it, and on and on and on. Maybe, if your circle of friends is diverse enough, somebody might actually pop up and say, hey, this article is satire, but at that point, it's been shared over and over and over, and even after that comment is posted, it still keeps being shared because most people just don't read the comment section. They see the headline, they say, oh my God, I totally agree with this, share and move on with their day. So here we are. Now, the problem has been going on for years now. In fact, a 2019 study underscores this situation on both sides of the political aisle. Essentially, this is agnostic to politics because it's happening on the left and the right. Now, check out the percentages that believe these satirical headlines. So, a headline in the Babylon Bee was, and I quote, CNN news anchor Anderson Cooper said his belief that Trump colluded with Russia is unshakable. It will not change regardless of statements or evidence to the contrary. More than 1 in 5 self-identified Republicans believe this, and that is completely satire, that no matter what the evidence, Anderson Cooper would not change his mind. Or how about this headline from The Onion? And I quote, National Security Advisor John Bolton said that an attack on 2 Saudi Arabian oil tankers in the Gulf of Oman is, quote, an attack on all Americans. 14% of Democrats believed that one. Obviously, that was satire as well. And if you think these numbers are low, 14% of all Democrats, or around 21% of all Republicans, which was the first one, that is tens of millions of people here in the United States alone. And again, this is a global problem. When we hate one side or the other and we don't stop to think or check our sources, we end up sharing intentionally fake news, believing it's real, and since our friends trust us and oftentimes align with us, they share it and their friends share it, and on and on and on. So how do we combat this outside of educating everybody directly? And this is where Facebook comes in today's reporting. Now, this is coming from The Verge. And essentially what they're saying is that Facebook is adding additional labels to posts from pages that appear in users' news feeds in a bid to reduce confusion about their origin. These labels will include public official, fan page, and satire page in these labels. Now, Facebook says it's already started testing this deployment in the United States and will gradually add them to more posts. Now, Facebook has not offered any explanation as to why they're doing this, but identifying satire seems particularly important given everything that I just mentioned. The Verge even mentions the Babylon Bee and Onion articles, just like the previous study that I talked about did, but they also link to an article about then President Trump mistaking a Babylon Bee article for real, and that Babylon Bee article is entitled, Twitter shuts down entire network to slow spread of negative Biden news. Trump actually tweeted this out with the message, and I quote, wow, this has never been done in history. This includes his really bad interview last night. Why is Twitter doing this? Bringing more attention to Sleepy Joe and Big T. That was sent to his 80 plus million followers. I believe it's somewhere between 80 and 90 million before Twitter cut him loose. And that information system was then born as people took that and spread that all over the place, even though people were saying, hey, the Babylon Bee is satire. Twitter clearly didn't do this, and if you go back and you actually look, Twitter never went down. So it's obviously demonstrably false, obviously satire, in that way. But here we have a president of the United States spreading that to tens of millions of people, and this isn't the first time that Facebook has tried to make context of their posts in your newsfeed more clear. In last June, for example, they began labeling media outlets which are, quote, wholly or partially under the editorial control of their government. Such outlets need labels, argued Facebook, because, quote, they combine the influence of a media organization with the strategic backing of a state, and we believe people should know if the news they read is coming from a publication that may be under the influence of a government. I agree with that sentiment. So here are my thoughts on this. I think that this shows that accuracy has never been in Facebook's wheelhouse. There has never really been any foresight on Facebook's part into how people would actually use their platform and how both misinformation and disinformation could spread. Most people don't fully read into a situation at all and gravitate towards websites and articles that favor their worldview. And as they are swiping through just the fire hose worth of Facebook posts, news stories, cute videos, stupid videos, and more, we are simply not ingesting the evidence, the actual evidence and thoughts in a news story, only the headline and passing it on. We are not checking the source, which means if they're adding a tiny label for satire, that is also going to be missed. I think that's important. While it's going to catch some, and some are going to say, oh, this is fake. Joe Biden really didn't say this, or Donald Trump really didn't say that. For the most part, people are going to say, aha, I knew Biden did this, or aha, I knew Trump did that, or whatever, and share it out. And all their Trump-loving or Trump-hating or Biden-loving and Biden-hating friends are going to basically take this and spread this out. I'm glad Facebook is doing this, but my question to them is, where was this a decade ago? As this was all blowing up, even before, we had the divisiveness that we have for the last 4 or 5 years, misinformation has been continuously on the rise in various different things, and oftentimes it's getting confused with satire. And while I don't necessarily blame The Onion or the Babylon Bee, it's quite clear that millions of people around the globe, and even here in the United States, are simply not reading into this, or simply don't know what the Babylon Bee or the Onion are. It's not quite the same as ABC News or CNN or Fox or MSNBC, but it's there and it's being shared. And Facebook has, I think, a responsibility to really be able to differentiate that. Now, I don't think they need to educate the world in that sense, but if you're using their platform, I do think they have a responsibility, especially in a politically divisive climate, to make sure that the information that is being put out there is coming from some kind of news source, even if there's a bias on the right or the left of that news source. Versus satire, at least understand, okay, this news is coming from a right-wing or a left-wing source, therefore it's going to slant one way or the other, but at least it's not fake. At least it's not there to try to make you laugh. And The Onion and Babylon Bee have had some truly hysterical articles over the years because they are satire and they are funny. But when we confuse that with actual news because it sounds right to us because we hate somebody basically on the other side, we run into problems. We need to stop that. We need to educate ourselves. Stop, think, read the labels from Facebook and hopefully everywhere else. And that is your news of the day. And please like, share, follow me here on Facebook and Twitter at NickAESP. And please feel free to subscribe to me at YouTube as well. And as always, stay safe and stay online. Thanks, everyone.